If you believe the narrative they are feeding you about what happened 7 days ago, if you believe that the United States military launched a raid on Venezuela just to capture one man, you're missing the single most important financial signal of your lifetime. Guys, open your eyes. What happened on January 3rd at 2 o'clock in the morning was not a political operation. It was not a diplomatic mission. It was a bank robbery. It was the definitive, undeniable confirmation that the United States dollar has officially reached the end of the line. We need to call this exactly what it is. This is the dollar death blow. When you strip away the flags and the speeches, the raid on Caracas was the desperate act of a bankrupt empire that can no longer afford to pay for the resources it needs to survive. Think about it. For the last 50 years, the United States has enjoyed a privilege that no other country in history has ever had. They could print pieces of green paper that cost nothing to produce, and trade them for real things. They could print dollars and get Saudi oil. They could print dollars and get Chinese electronics. They could print dollars and get Mexican silver. It was the greatest magic trick in economic history, but the magic has run out. The world has stopped believing in the paper. The debt has grown so large, $38.5 trillion and counting, that the math is physically impossible. The interest payments alone are consuming the entire tax revenue of the country. And when an empire realizes that its credit card is maxed out, when they realize that nobody wants their IOUs anymore, they don't stop consuming, they stop trading, and they start taking. We have officially entered stage 4 of the empire collapse cycle. This is the stage known as desperate resource acquisition. It is the moment when the hegemon realizes that the only asset they have left is their military, and they decide to use it to seize the collateral. Do you really think they sent helicopters and special forces just to arrest Nicolas Maduro? Do you think they risked a global war just for a photo op? No. They went in for the prize. They went in for the $17.3 trillion worth of proven oil reserves sitting under the Venezuelan soil. They went in because the strategic petroleum reserve in the United States is empty. They went in because they need real, tangible wealth to backstop a financial system that is hollowed out by inflation and derivatives. The dollar is dying, so they are trying to back it with stolen oil. This is the signal you have been waiting for. It proves that the government knows exactly how bad the situation is. They know the printing press isn't enough anymore. If the dollar was strong, they would just buy the oil. They would just write a check. But they didn't write a check. They sent a gunship. That tells you everything you need to know about the purchasing power of the fiat currency in your pocket. It is worthless. And if they are willing to invade a sovereign nation to secure their energy supply, what do you think they will do when they realize they are running out of the other strategic asset they need to wage war? What do you think they will do when they realize they are out of silver? Because you can't run a Tomahawk missile without silver. You can't run a satellite without silver. You can't run the AI systems that guide those helicopters without silver. And unlike oil, they can't just pump more silver out of the ground in Venezuela. They have to find it. They have to buy it, or they have to confiscate it. So do not look at this raid as foreign policy, and look at it as the final warning bell. The rules of the game have changed. We are no longer in a global free market where prices are determined by supply and demand. We are in a global resource war where assets are determined by who has the biggest stick. And in this environment, holding paper assets, holding stocks, bonds, or currency is suicide. Because paper is just a claim on a government that is currently resorting to piracy to pay its bills. You need to hold what they are chasing. You need to hold the real assets. And to understand where we go next, to understand why this specific military action guarantees $200 silver, you have to look at the history books. You have to realize that we have seen this movie before. Rome did it. The British did it. The Dutch did it. They all followed the exact same 7-stage pattern of decline. And if you map the United States onto that timeline, the conclusion is terrifying. We aren't just in debt, we are in the terminal phase. Let's break down the 7 stages of empire. Let's look at exactly where we are on the clock and why stage 4 is the point of no return. History never lies, it only rhymes. And right now, the rhyme scheme is screaming at us from the pages of every history book ever written about the fall of great powers. You have to understand that nations do not just collapse overnight. They follow a specific mathematical trajectory that is as predictable as the tides. Whether you are talking about the Roman